This is JD Webb, Physical Science 311, Oceanography, Research Assignment 1. So the first question asked is, how have the oceans been mapped or measured in the past? And throughout most of history, the methods employed were relatively straightforward, attaching a weight to a rope, dropping into the ocean to measure the depth, which was relatively accurate within a certain tolerance, and was increased in sophistication throughout the years. One important advancement was when they greased the ball, which allowed them to pick up a sediment sample at the bottom. And this sediment sample not only confirmed that the weight had reached the bottom, but could also be used for further analysis. These were continued to use with greater sophistication until sonar or acoustic analysis methods were developed. And these, during the 1920s, allowed ships to record depths while they were moving, so they didn't require them to stop, drop the ball, bring it back up, which could take a long time. And these acoustic methods that were employed allowed us to create the first maps of the ocean back in the 1950s. So currently, there are a few different endeavors being made to map the ocean. In our text, it talks about the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is involved in an integrated ocean and coastal mapping project. Again, that's from the text. And the Seabed 2030 group, which was talked about extensively in the video, which is also attempting to map the ocean. Both these projects are using all of the technology they have at their disposal. The Seabed 2030 group did talk about placing acoustic sensors on drones as well as just ships, which would allow them to more speedily map the ocean. There are other methods like using airborne lasers that use light to measure large areas of the ocean, using satellites which measure dips or raises in ocean depth or in sea level, which allows us to infer large or small structures due to the increased gravity in those areas, so large structures would create higher sea levels. And ROVs, which can directly measure remotely operated vehicles, which directly measure and record observations of individual oceanic features. As far as when this will be done, the Seabed 2030 group claims it will be done by 2030, although it seems that a lot of people are very skeptical about this date. I'm skeptical as well. I don't know if it'll be done by 2030, but within the next 20 years seems reasonable. And the result will be what it sounds, a map of the ocean, a comprehensive map containing massive amounts of data that have been collected over centuries and allow us to really understand what lies beneath the ocean. And as far as why we should care, so the number one reason is that there's a huge amount of value held in the ocean. We talked about it in the text a lot, they also talked about it in the video, but most of this value is not even being utilized. If we were to map the ocean, we could better understand what's there, we could better utilize the resources that exist there. The ocean already accounts for, either directly or indirectly, $352 billion of the US GDP, and that could potentially go up if we were to map the entire ocean. Additionally, for scientific purposes, it would be important to map the ocean to discover new species, new forms. There's so much of it that hasn't been mapped that there's so much potential for new discoveries that scientifically it's very compelling. And for me, it's a point of curiosity. The fact that it's the largest part of the Earth and we know so little about it is amazing. And I'm definitely somebody that wants to know everything. So it would be really cool to finally understand what lies out there. Thank you. That's JD Webb for Oceanography, Research Assignment 1.